All right. Welcome to the show. This is Devon Johnson with the Showtime Forum postgame report. Lakers win tonight at home against the Pelicans, 118-109. Plenty to talk about tonight. Really excited to talk about it. It was a game that had plenty of things to talk about. Lots of good things, lots of bad things. And I want to do a disclaimer real quick. I want to apologize because my smoke alarm is giving me warnings. And you're probably going to hear that the rest of the postgame. But forgive me for that. I'm going to be changing that so that won't be happening for the next post game. But with that being said, the Lakers won tonight, and they pretty much did it in a dominant fashion. There were plenty of moments really where this game should have been decided very much earlier than what it was. But there was a lot of sloppy plays. We'll talk about that. There were a lot of just weird moments. We'll talk about that. But for the most part, everything kind of rode on the back of LeBron James, who tonight actually scored 40 points again. This is his 65th 40-point game, and we needed every one of his points to win. He only played 34 minutes, though, which is amazing that he was able to do as much as he did with only playing 34 minutes. He had 6 assists, 8 rebounds, and was a plus 12. Now, the thing that we didn't like to see, and part of the reason why the game was so close, was because of his contributions in another category that we hate to talk about, but it seems to be his Achilles heel outside of free throw shooting, and that is turnovers. He had 7 of them tonight. He had more turnovers than he had assists. But he still finished with a plus 12 when he was on the floor. And it just felt like tonight was one of those nights where it was just, you can't really chalk it up to anything outside of just it being one of those nights. Plenty of missed lobs tonight that we normally would finish. Weird calls that were happening tonight. But the game ended up going in our favor, as it normally does. And once again, we're undefeated on the season when we take a lead into the fourth quarter. And we actually were able to do that with KCP hitting that layup in the final seconds of the third quarter going into the fourth. And so that record is still safe. And we have so far defeated the Pelicans in every game. Now, the issue that I think most of us are going to talk about tonight as we get going is we're going to talk about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis did have a decent game by most standards. If I read this stat line to you, it really won't offend you if I was talking about any other player. But 21 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks, a steal. You really can't be mad at that. 3 assists and only 2 turnovers. So when you look at that in a 36-minute category, you're saying that's a pretty good game. But we all know that Anthony Davis is capable of so much more. He was 6 of 21 tonight from the field, but he was also 9 of 10 from the free throw line, so a lot of his points were coming from the free throw line. But if you look at that, stat line, for like I said, for any other player, that would be considered a great night. 13 rebounds, 6 blocks, 21 points, solid contributions with a plus 11 in the real plus-minus category. But the truth is that when you watch it with just the eye test, you notice so many issues that he was having. There are so many issues that you looked at and said to yourself, this doesn't look right. And we weren't sure if it was maybe he was hurt, and there was even a point in the game where we thought he may have gotten hurt. It was just a stinger on his elbow as he did a chase down block. But there were some moments where it just didn't look like him. He had moments where he was backing down Drew Holiday. And unlike LeBron, who backed down Holiday the entire night and went straight to the rim with bully ball, Anthony Davis seemed to just rely on this mid-range jumper that really wasn't hitting for him, hence him going 6 of 21. He shot 3-pointers tonight. He was 0 of 3 from that category. And it just didn't feel like a standard Anthony Davis game. And I think a lot of us now are getting a little bit worried only because of the way that he is as close as we're getting to the playoffs. When you get closer to the playoffs, you're really asking yourself, like, is this going to be what we get? Like, is this going to be the final product? And it still feels like the Lakers are still fine-tuning some things. Tonight we did see the debut of Markieff Morris. and it was good to see him come into the game tonight. He only played 15 minutes and only scored 4 points, but it was good to see him on the debut category. Now, he also had some defensive moments where he'd had a block, and he seemed to be able to stick around with the bigs a little bit. Zion still had a game tonight. He had his 9th consecutive 20-point game tonight, finishing the game with 29 points, just behind Brandon Ingram at 34. So we are capable of looking at the game like this. We know that if you have a dominant big and another scorer, we can still withstand that and win, because basically Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson were canceled out by Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Where the difference came in was in the play of Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso tonight was an absolute stud. He only played 17 minutes tonight, but he was a plus 20 on 8 points. He was 2 of 3 from the free throw line, 3 of 5 from the field. And listen, if you look at the stat sheet here, you're not going to see too much except for the assist category. In only 17 minutes, he had 8 assists. Rondo had 12 minutes and had 2 assists. So you're kind of seeing the difference here in the point guard play. And we talked about this before, the difference between Alex Caruso and Rajon Rondo. There are moments where Rondo plays up and he does this incredible thing, and we start getting excited about the idea of playoff Rondo. But the most consistent play we've had all season has been from Alex Caruso. And the difference is in this. If you value scoring, you're never going to value Caruso. But if you value an offense that is fluid, if you value a high-intensity defensive presence, if you value athleticism, and if you value team chemistry, which he obviously has an ability to influence guys on the court, hence his plus minus being the highest on the team tonight, even above LeBron James, then Alex Caruso is one of your unsung MVPs. And I know we've made jokes and we've talked about it, we chant MVP and stuff like that, but he is a legit solid contributor that, I'm going to be honest, if we win this championship this year, he is going to be a huge part of that, because he sets the tone off the second unit, which has had its up and down. But he is the most consistent person that you'll find on our bench, and so he did an amazing job tonight. I really wish he would have had more minutes, but I am glad that he had 5 more than Rondo. I'm glad that Rondo really didn't get much run once Caruso got started. He had an incredible block on Lonzo Ball tonight that it shook the building, man. And then he was able to do an and one on the other end. He was just all over the place tonight, making plays, obviously doing assists, doing his thing tonight. And he was just a couple of points and a couple of assists away from literally having a double-double. And for Caruso to have a double-double is a big deal, because a lot of his stuff that we talk about, like I said, you can't see in the statistical categories. But if he's able to do the unsung things as well as the things you can see on the stat sheet, he becomes an absolute stud off the bench. And that's exactly what he was. Let's get into some stuff tonight. James Michael, how do you like that finishing lineup? I wish I could say that I like finishing lineups, because they're solidified, but they're not. And Markieff Morris getting minutes in the second half, third and fourth quarter. I like it. I like the experimentation. It obviously we had room to kind of play with it once we got that double-digit lead. But I would love to see in probably the next 15 games to see a solid, solidified ending rotation, last 4 minutes. And I truly believe that Alex Caruso was going to be in that category. There's no possible way you're going to be able to finish games effectively with leaving Alex Caruso on the bench. I just don't see it unless Rondo is extremely hot like he was against the Phoenix Suns a few games ago. I just don't see that happening. But tonight, what I saw was a good experimentation. I don't think it's going to be the finished lineup. And of course, if you heard the news that was reported that the Lakers are going to be meeting with Dion Waiters on March 2nd, I made a blunder and totally forgot. I was wondering why they were doing it on March 2nd, because in my head the deadline was March 1st, but that's the deadline for players to be waived in order to be eligible to play on a playoff team. Of course, Waiters has already been waiting in the wings, no pun intended. So we can still meet with him on March 2nd. We can still see if he's going to be a valuable contributor, and then add him into the playoff roster. Now, with that being said, that's going to be huge, because with the uptick of Caruso in his being comfortable in the lineup and doing those things, and then if you do introduce Dion Waiters, who is a bucket getter, He's a playmaking. He's a scorer for the most part. If you introduce him into the lineup, that means that somebody's minutes are going to go down, and it's not going to be Avery Bradley, and obviously tonight it's not going to be Caruso, which means we may be seeing the future decline of Rondo. I would suggest to you that if we do sign waiters, the first person who's going to suffer is going to be Rondo. How he handles that, I don't know. The Lakers and Rob Pelinka and really the entire team, even the coaches, have been great about keeping the chemistry intact regardless of how minutes go. The one person that we haven't really seen being affected by minutes has been Rondo. The one thing that we saw was that he wasn't starting, but nobody expected him to start. But now we're starting to see that he's getting minutes. But if Waiters comes in, you're going to see those 12 minutes he got tonight diminished, even possibly down into the single digits, depending on how the play goes. Blake St. Clair, I thought that game would never end with the fouls and timeouts. Yeah, and it's the same. If you were watching the game before that, I forget who was playing. I forgot already. But there was a game that was happening before that. It was the Bucks and somebody. And that game felt long, right? Bucks and Raptors. That game felt long. In fact, it went over into our TV time. And so it's one of those things, that the refs are trying to figure it out. And I said it before, the playoffs are going to have a whole different roster of vets that are roughing the games, and you're going to see it called much more consistently. We may not agree with it, but it's going to be at least more consistent than what we saw tonight. But there were plenty of fouls and things like that. But what I did like was when the moments counted, they let them play. The Caruso block, they let that play. I know there are some instances where I've seen blocks as clean as that get called for fouls, which is really weird. And so, tonight was one of those things where you just kind of roll with it and learn the chemistry of how the refs are going to call the games, and the Lakers played it to their favor. But good to see another win. That's right. Aniket Mohan, good to see you, my man. Exciting game that I knew we were going to win. I knew we were going to win this, but Pelicans played well. Salute to you, sir. And actually, I actually enjoyed this game for a couple of reasons. Exactly what you said. Not only were the Pelicans playing well, but you saw the development of players. You saw Lonzo Ball being able to finish at the rim, doing things like that. You saw, obviously, Brandon Ingram turning into the superstar that we all believed he could be. We saw Josh Hart still being a contributor on the defensive end, hitting threes, tried to hit threes. He's still being that three-point shooter. And it's good to see them with their own team without having the pressure of wearing the Laker brand on their backs and without having to have LeBron James and championship expectations. They can develop in their own time, and I loved watching it. Now you're inserting Zion, who's an absolute stud, did what he did tonight, and he's still trying to learn the game, still trying to get his body in shape, and he was able to do what he did. That is a very promising core. I don't think they're championship contenders yet, but if you were to add, let's say, like a Jimmy Butler to that, or if you were to add like a Bradley Beal to that, you're really talking about a serious contender in the West that is already fully loaded. And so I loved watching the game tonight. I was able to cheer for both sides. Every time Ingram made a play, I was happy. But I was even more happy knowing that we were going to win the game, so that was good. Roderick O'Keefe, Caruso is the best player off the bench. Should be the first option over Kuzma. I hear what you're saying. It's a little bit different because their skill sets are different and what they're asked to do is totally different. So Kuzma really has no bearing on Caruso's minutes for that matter. But to be honest, Kuzma's minutes are going to suffer because of Morris being on the floor. And I think Morris showed tonight with literally no real good practice or chemistry time with the team. His first point as a Laker, his first 2 points was a dunk because he knew how to cut and he was reading and he was doing things right. He made a couple of things that he shouldn't have done tonight. I don't think he had that many turnovers. I think he only had he had 0 turnovers, and he had a block that was amazing. He did a great block on in the low post. So you're seeing like he's really going to be a contributor in areas that Kuzma cannot. But Caruso is absolutely the most crucial part to not only the second unit, but I would venture to say the entire team. In the sense of this, obviously LeBron James is the person that we need in Anthony Davis. If either one of those people go down, we're in trouble. But if you take Caruso off of this team, he was what I consider part of that three-headed monster when it comes to fluidity of the offense, intensity on defense, all of that, okay? And he's actually making so much of a name for himself that if you're watching the games, there's certain points where he's holding people accountable on their defensive assignments. This is something that Caruso obviously couldn't do in the last 2 years as he was being a two-way player just being called up in certain games. It's not just about the contract, it's about his identity in this team and what he knows he brings to it. He's defensive-minded first, which obviously shows up in majority of his stats, but now he's starting to put the offensive ability in there too, learning how to read his teammates, making the right cuts on the pick and roll. And the difference between Alex Caruso Caruso and Rajon Rondo is this. Alex Caruso makes quick decisions. Sometimes they could be the wrong one, but he makes quick decisions. And when the offense is able to make quick decisions, the people that he's passing to or the moves that he's making, it causes the offense to roll in that fluid state. Rajon Rondo tends to be much more, it's crazy to say this, a ball stopper at times because he's steadily trying to read and make decisions, which causes the entire offense to be stagnant and nobody really knows what he's thinking. And so this is one of the reasons why Rondo is having such an issue with keep being consistent with his play, is because some nights it clicks and he's right in alignment with the other guys, and other nights he's not. Most nights he's not. But Caruso is pretty steady, and he's been actually growing on the offensive end and making playmaking ability. So it's good to see him doing what he did tonight. I absolutely agree with you. He's one of the best players off the bench. Good to see a bit of playoff LeBron today. It is good to see that. And this is what I want to point out to people, man, because this is the thing that I think a lot of people are kind of downplaying. Obviously, people who are not Laker fans, we see this and we know this. But tonight, Zion Williamson had 29 points in 33 minutes, okay? The kid is, 19 years old, okay? Or somewhere around there. He's a young guy. I think he's like 19, okay? LeBron James played 34 minutes and had 40 points in year 17. So you're looking at a rookie and a 17-year vet, and one is scoring more points more efficiently, right? And you're watching one who has all of the agility and athleticism and the fresh legs and all that, who's still struggling to find themselves. Now, this is not a comparison to comparison. Obviously, LeBron James has a far better skill set in a lot of areas than Zion Williamson. Number one, Williamson needs somebody to give him the ball. He's not a great ball handler himself. You put him in the post, he can do some work. But if you're asking him to bring it up and make and facilitate, he's a great passer from the post, but it cannot start from him. It has to go through him. LeBron James is doing what he's doing by making great decisions, facilitating, scoring, being able to play in the low post like he did tonight, and that is the difference. This is why people need to pay attention to what LeBron is doing in year 17. He's outplaying rookies who are coming into the league who are supposed to be the replacement to him. Some people are trying to tout him as the next LeBron, the new LeBron, which obviously he is not. So I loved watching tonight how the Lakers handle that and seeing LeBron turn into playoff mode tonight. AD had a horrible game. Hope he's not banged up. Dude keeps getting hurt every game. Now listen, here's the key that we need to adjust our minds to. What we consider a horrible game is not really a horrible game by NBA standards. I'll read the stats again. 21 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks, and only 2 turnovers. Any other stat, if you gave that to Zion and said that was Zion's stat line, all the Sports Center would be blowing up. If that was Joel Embiid's stat line, the whole NBA would be blowing up. You give that to Rudy Gobert. You give that to any other big, and the whole world is going crazy. But for us, we hold him to a higher standard because we know he's capable of more. So I completely understand why you say horrible game, because we're saying it from an internal standpoint, and our perspective is we know there's more in him. Also, the second thing that we need to adjust our brains on is this. Anthony Davis has been used to getting hurt and sitting down to preserve himself. He is now learning how to play through those injuries. So even when he had that stinger against the backboard, I'm sure it hurt. There's no way you play as hard as he plays when you get 6 blocks, 21 points, 14 rebounds. You have to battle to get those things. Those things don't come easy, right? So you're going to get hurt if you're asserting yourself at that level consistently, day in and day out. We can't ask him to do a 40 and 20 game and then be upset because he gets hurt in the process of doing that. The difference is this. Now he has somebody who holds him accountable in LeBron James that says, you're not going to sit out unless it's completely necessary. The last injury that he had that caused him to sit out was a legitimate injury. He went up, he was doing his thing on the defensive end, which we expect him to do, and fell on his tailbone and bruised it. You're not asking him to play through that. It's not safe, it's not smart, and he's never done that, okay? So, and he's a big. So this is different than Kobe. Kobe was a guard, and bigs don't necessarily have the ability to recover from injuries as easy. Most of the bigs end up losing their knees early in their career. Even with Zion Williamson, they'll worry about him as he keeps doing all these things. But the minute he gets hurt, because bigs are injury prone, especially when they're playing hard the way they're doing it tonight. That means that there were at least 20 times tonight, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks, at least 14 times tonight that AD went up with complete conviction that he was going to do something to affect the game when he jumped. That's huge, okay? That's huge. So yeah, he's learning how to play through it. And even when he hit his elbow, I tweeted it. I said, it's just a singer. He's going to be okay. But it's good that he's trying to play through it, that LeBron James is holding him accountable. And here's what we got to do. We got to just start talking to this dude in the DMs and all that stuff, even in the comment section. We got to remind this man that he is called to greatness when he puts that Laker uniform on. So, with that comes, you got to be battle ready, battle tested. You got to be able to play through injuries and get us that chip. It's going to cost you blood, sweat, and tears to be able to raise another banner in the Staples Center. So I actually heard somebody say that he was one of the weakest superstars ever. He's not a weak superstar, guys. You're asking a once-in-a-lifetime... Listen, we cannot call him weak and then call him a once-in-a-lifetime generational player. You're talking about somebody who's asserting themselves in an area they never have before, never been held accountable before, and because he was the only star on his team, the team officials and doctors would pull him and yank him anytime they felt like there's a potential for him to be out for a long period of time. So he's been groomed in New Orleans to be sensitive to injuries and to pull yourself out and to talk. But that's not how we do it here. And so listen, he banged his elbow and they sent him right back into that game. Building a culture and mentality is going to take him some time to adjust to that. Danny Green has his great once-a-month game today. He did. He had a great game today. He was on from three, and we said it. Danny Green is a streaky shooter. That's what we expect. That's what we know. The difference is this. The reason why Danny Green becomes so much more of a threat in the playoffs is because he can adjust to the same team playing them over and over again in the 7-game series. So he's played the Pelicans multiple times this season, and he came out firing tonight, 5 of 9 from three-point land, 17 points on the night. And when you get to the playoffs, you're looking for these streaks to happen at certain points. Tonight, we technically needed his 17 points. And I really like the way the scoring happened tonight. Caldwell Pope with 15. AD with 21, Braun with 40, Danny Green with 17, and then you're kind of seeing these small little increments here. Alex Caruso with 8, Kyle Kuzma with 9. Like that's fine with me for right now. What's strange was Avery Bradley tonight had 0 points in 22 minutes. He was 0 of 8 from the field. And we had just talked about going into the All-Star break and even that one game coming out of it, the man was shooting close to 60% from the field. And he was on fire from three, and it just seemed like he had found himself offensively. He was almost averaging double digits in over a 10-game period. But tonight, he just wasn't able to find it. But he was aggressive in shooting 8. 7 of those shots were three-pointers. I want you to think about that. Avery Bradley, he only shot 1 shot from inside the three-point arc. So he's getting more comfortable with it, but he's not. Tonight was a night that he didn't hit it. And I'm almost assuming that if you were to have a Danny Green going and having an Avery Bradley going and having a KCP going all from 3, can you imagine the kind of game that AD really would have had they been hitting their shots? Like so that just when you were thinking about basketball, when the 3-point shooters are hitting, it opens up. There was a play tonight where the Lakers left Lonzo completely open and looked at him. And Lonzo was open for so long, he wasn't even sure if the whistle had been called or whatever, and he shot it and he made the 3. The reason why the Lakers did that was because the Pelicans were shooting 29% from 3. They only made 8 out of 27 threes tonight. We shot less than that. We shot 13 of 44, but we obviously know where that comes from. But watching that happen when you're not shooting threes, when you're not hitting threes, teams will let you shoot it, and they'll just collapse in on the middle. But when you're hitting threes, they have to spread out. And so it's good to see when the Lakers are actually hitting tonight. Most of our threes came from LeBron James or Danny Green. I did not like seeing LeBron shooting 11 threes tonight. It felt like a few of those were heat checks. And if you combine that with Danny Green's 9, that was almost a majority of our threes for the game. So, you don't want to rely all your three-point shooting on 2 players, but it's important that whoever is hitting, make sure that they're hitting on a consistent basis. LBG eating the red vine, licorice gate. Listen, man, he has earned the right to do literally whatever he wants to do, man, on the sideline. He's obviously a team guy. He's a leader. But he also has fun at his games, and he's technically a kid at heart. One of the things AD said that he learned about LeBron coming over to the team when he came over was that LeBron really is a big kid. And so the red vine really thing to me is it's funny. Blake Sinclair, it baffles me anyone thought Kuzma was better than Ingram ever. No, and I just want to make sure I correct this statement. It's never about the talent level as much as it is about who fits better. Ingram does not become the Ingram that he is with LeBron on the floor. If they're on the same team, he is not the same person. In fact, You actually saw his game suffer a little bit when Zion came back because he had to adjust, and you really saw Ingram suffer when he gets around like another superstar. So it's strange, right? It's strange when you think about it because you're like, man, he obviously is a better talent, but he needs the ball. He needs the ball. Kuzma doesn't really need the ball. LeBron needs the ball, and Ingram needs the ball. And when we have two people who absolutely need the ball to be effective, it doesn't work. So Ingram is actually better than Kuzma, but he's not better than Kuzma on this team. He would have been a much better scorer, but it wouldn't have been moving in the fluidity of LeBron's offense. And this is LeBron's offense, the way he likes to do it. Give me the option to drive, give me the option to pick and roll, give me the option to kick it out to a three-point shooter. None of those things really is Ingram's game. Ingram is not a pick and roll player. He's much more of he is an ISO player that's going to get his mid-range and get it going. And he is money from the mid-range. To be honest, he would have been great on the second unit, but there's no way Ingram is going to be a second unit guy. He has the mindset of a starter, and it just wouldn't have worked. Blake St. Clair, AD loves the mid-range instead of... Never mind, you covered it. Yeah, he loves the mid-range, and I think part of that was from the culture of New Orleans. They just trained him to do what's necessary to score, but do it without the possibility of you getting hurt. That's not us, okay? The Lakers are not that. The Lakers are you bump bodies and you make sure that somebody feels your presence every time you go in. And he has to learn that culture, man. He has to learn it. If he's going to turn into the alpha that we need when LeBron retires, if he's going to turn into the talent that could give us multiple championships post-LeBron, that he's going to have to develop the mindset that I'm going to risk my entire, and I know it sounds crazy for us to say it because we're not doing it, but he has to risk his entire body going into that inside to make sure that he gets the job done and dominates on the inside. Tonight, Zion Williamson had his way for the most part with AD. And it was really strange to watch. AD was having trouble on the inside scoring, and then Zion was having zero problem scoring on the other side. So this should be a game that they take the tape back and go, okay, AD, you see all this? This is what teams are going to be studying come the playoffs as to how to get you to have a bad game, right? So we'll find out how that goes. James and Michael, those fourth quarter minutes with LBJ on the bench didn't hurt us. Was that the Caruso effect? Absolutely. Every time the Lakers went on a run, Caruso was on the floor. Every time the Lakers lost the lead, Caruso was off the floor. And I'm not talking about one or two times. I'm talking about from quarter one to quarter four. Caruso didn't play at all until the mid-second quarter. And you just saw that we had built up that lead, and every Laker fan thinks it. When we start a game off and we're winning by double digits in the first 4 or 5 minutes, none of us trust it because we know we're going to lose that lead. Why? Because we don't have one of the best people on the court to be able to keep the momentum going, and that's Alex Caruso. So I don't count it a coincidence. He's plus 20 for a reason, the highest plus minus on the team tonight. I don't count it a coincidence. And listen, he had a plus 20 with the turnover. Like, that's normally not how it goes, right? He had a foul and a turnover and was still a plus 20. Only had 8 points, but had 8 assists. So that's the Caruso effect is just amazing. It's an anomaly, man. You're probably never going to see a player who affects the team the way he does without it showing up on the stat sheet. Chris Haynes reported that Dion Waiters has a meeting with Lakers on March the 2nd. Yes, that is the truth because the Lakers are still looking for a ball handler. And I think they were doing things, in a couple reasons. I think they were doing things slowly because of the Kobe death. That really threw everything off. But second, to really evaluate where the team was before they started messing with the team. The team, if you've ever experienced death in a group of friends or a family, it tends to, for the most part, bring certain families and certain friend groups together. And it makes the bond that much tighter because you're grieving with each other. And nobody else is having the same experience that you guys are having internally. You guys can all relate to each other. And so part of what you saw, even with the Boogie Cousins waving and him staying with the facility, part of that all came from, my belief, from the chemistry getting that much tighter once they got that news on that plane that Kobe Bryant had died. And that was a moment. Nobody else could really live that moment except for the people on that plane, which is the team, coaches, and, of course, assistants and staff. And so that becomes a tight group. So when you're talking about doing buyouts and cutting people, you have to think about the mentality of that group. And I love what I saw tonight. Quinn Cook was out. Obviously, he wasn't playing because he was in street clothes tonight. But LeBron James was going to work. He was going to work, and he literally had dunked on somebody's head, and the Pelicans called a timeout. He's going back to the bench. The first person that comes off the bench to meet him is Quinn Cook. And him and Quinn Cook are talking back and forth. And I'm telling you, when I'm saying they hyping, Quinn Cook was gassing LeBron up. And when you're watching that happen, you're going, okay, there's something there, man. Like you could tell these guys are tight. Listen to DeMarcus Cousins talk on the All the Smoke podcast, and you're hearing him talk about 1 through 15. We going to eat? Everybody going to eat. Going to the movies? Everybody's going. So a lot of that, they had to wait until the chemistry thing kind of just got settled, solidified. They got through the trauma. They got through the rough part as an organization, and now they can start having conversations. And hats off. I just want to say this. I just want to pause for a moment. Hats off to Rob Pelinka, man. Not just for roster construction and making moves. I know we every time something goes wrong or the Clippers do something, we trash this dude. But just to think about this, man, this guy puts together a roster, comes out of the summer, out of this tumultuous season. People are mad, fire, torches and pitchforks outside of Staples Center ready to crucify this guy. And then he puts together this roster, and we just go on this amazing streak, and we become the number 1 seed. And just as things are starting to feel good and the Lakers get rolling, his best friend and his goddaughter both die on a night that he just watched a player that he's currently on his team pass his best friend in a scoring title, and he watches the news, and he's watching these clips, and he's hearing all this stuff. He's watching old memories, and you better believe he has stuff on his phone of Gigi, of Kobe, and conversations they've had, and it's gone. Like he can't, like his friend is gone, his goddaughter is gone, but he still has a job to do. He's still getting phone calls. There's still offers that are happening. And they get past the private memorial session, and now they have this big thing to do at Staples. He has to speak at that, and he's speaking about his best friend and his goddaughter, who's 13, this is all the things he has to deal with, and his tenure has been nothing but ups and downs for him emotionally. And so for him to be able to continue to keep working, keep trying to make moves, signing Morris was a big deal. I'm sorry. I know it just feels like, oh, we got the lesser twin. I don't care. It's exactly one of the things that we needed. Now he's talking about Dion Waiters, which is another thing that we need. And he's still trying to fill holes. And it's just like the offseason. In the offseason, we did not get the sexy picks. We didn't get all of these people that we thought were going to be the ones that we were going to get. And we ended up getting this roster really just the land of misfit toys. Dwight Howard, Quinn Cook, Jared Dudley, just a bunch of just guys, veteran minimum guys. And they come together and they have one of the greatest chemistry you've seen on an NBA team in years. And Rob Pelinka was a part of that. And so now we're signing people that most people don't even think about. You're not thinking about Markieff Morris, but you're not thinking of Dion Waiters for the most part. But now that they're there, and we actually end up signing Waiters, you're putting together a team, and watch this, signing Morris and still keeping DeMarcus Cousins in the building, who was at the Lakers facility. Couldn't be at the game, can't travel on the plane, but can still practice at the facility, work out with the coaches, keep getting this game tight. And it's like, listen, man, next year, let's take care of each other. Like, that's a great GM, man. We have to just really congratulate that dude for the stuff that he's doing. Leslie Johnson, Perks tweaks about Caruso. It's about time, man. The media gives this dude his just due. We all know. This ain't about us. We know. We've been talking about Caruso since when? Last year? Year before last? The minute that he caught a body, we were like, oh, that's the one. He dunked on his own teammate last year. Caruso dunked on JaVale McGee on a putback. Like, we believe in this dude, right? So I'm glad that some people like Perkins, I wish it would be like, more people, but obviously. Efren A. Crespo, the Caruso Show. It's good to see. Y'all see the signs, man? That's so incredible. I just love seeing this dude getting his just due. Caruso is the best of the ones we traded. Ingram, Ball, and Hart, he's better than Kuzma. He's more consistent than Kuzma. And you're asking them to do two different things. You're asking Kuzma to be a scorer. And to be honest, I need to retract the statement. I said I made a statement that against the Celtics, Kuzma was decent. But after going back and watching some of that tape on those games, Kuzma actually did a really good job on Tatum in that second half. And so, he's starting to develop his defensive game because Tatum was on fire. And Kuzma was doing a lot of denials and things like that were great. And so, you're asking Caruso and Kuzma to be two completely different people, right? You're not asking them to do the same things. It's completely different. And here's the thing. I do believe, he's one of the best fits. If you would have said, who would be the better fit with this current team? Ingram, Ball, Hart or Caruso, I would say Caruso hands down. No slight against Hart, but he can't do what Caruso does. No slight against Ball, because Ball's a tremendous talent, great defensive mind, great facilitator, but still doesn't have the it factor that makes teams better like Caruso. And of course, Ingram is a tremendous scorer, but he can't do what Caruso does defensively, nor can he ball handle and play make like him. He's just a way better scorer. So I would have said the same thing. Blake St. Clair, I feel like it might be a double-edged sword for AD. He isn't used to long seasons, but he also hasn't had to carry the team load he did without LeBron. He does look like a little faded this far in the season. Yeah. I haven't looked at it. I have to go back and look to see what his average games played in the season is. But I know he's been hurt every season that he's played in the NBA. But they're gonna get him. He's gonna go further than he's ever been before, and this is gonna be a part of the evolution, right? I was just watching. Forgive me for being a nerd. I was just watching this Dragon Ball Z episode, and part of them turning into a Super Saiyan is basically getting like pushed to your limit to the point where you just evolve into this new person. It's kind of what's happening with AD. He's kind of going through the crucible right now, man. He's kind of going through it. But out of this, he's going to evolve a different mindset and really just a different all-around playing style going forward. Because no matter what happens this season, he'll be able to go into next season knowing that he went through this season playing harder than he's normally played and playing through more games than he's normally played through. So that will become his new normal. Now that he knows it's capable, he should be able to do that more often. So yeah, his body's going to be winded. He's not used to it. He's not used to having to put forth that much effort. But he's going to get used to it really quick. Somebody said something about LeBron James and why does he play so many minutes. And LeBron's statement was, this is back in his Cavalier days, was he said, I have to play a lot of minutes going into the playoffs so that it feels normal to my body once the playoffs get here. And so that's a key. And that's something that Anthony Davis hasn't had to think about. Anthony Davis hasn't had to think about, wait, you want me to play 40 minutes in a 7-game series for multiple series? Nah, I'm not used to that. So he has to learn that from LeBron. He's gonna get his lessons. He's gonna get his lessons in when he gets to play. But you're right, Blake. It is a double-edged sword with him right now. Efren A. Crispo, Markieff Morris did some good little things. Yeah, you're not asking him to do much. Once again, he only played 15 minutes and scored 4 points and had 3 fouls in that. But I'm fine with those fouls, man. I'm fine because they were good fouls to me. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line, so we like the way he shoots free throws. He was a +2 tonight in the time that he was on there. Hit a shot on a dunk and missed a couple of shots, but that's fine with me. I really have no problem with the way he played tonight, especially with just getting acclimated to things. But I do believe that watching him tonight, I was like, he's going to be a difference maker come down the line. It probably won't show up in the next 3 or 4 games. He might have a good spike here and there, but when he gets really, really integrated into this system defensively and offensively, he's going to be a problem. Hard pass, Kyle Davis. Hard pass on Waiters. Yeah, I've had my biggest issue with Waiters has been his track record. Now I've had this discussion with multiple friends of mine. Good to see you, KD. I'm sorry. Good to see you too. It's been hard. When you talk about Waiters, most of us as fans, we think about players and their production in the moments that matter. On those minutes on the court, can you produce the way we need you to produce, right? Those 48 minutes on the court, can you produce? And so if your stats make sense, we ride with you, right? We'll ride with you if your stats make sense. I remember when Boogie Cousins was getting a bad rap up in Sacramento, and the Laker fans were like, we don't care what his attitude is like. Get that dude on the Lakers. He even talked about that on the podcast, that there was a possibility he was going to come, and he actually said no to it because we were horrible during the time that we were trying to get him. But for most of us, we look past a lot of the things that GMs have to factor in to signing players. And part of that is, what is your track record with other teams? And just so you kind of know, when you talk about there's a respect that kind of goes through amongst coaches, like, so you know about the Doc Rivers, and there's certain coaches that just look at other coaches like Greg Popovich, and they just know there's a hierarchy. And so they kind of pull their trends from these coaches. Well, the same thing happens with GMs. And one of the GMs that a lot of people look up to is Pat Riley. Not only because of his coaching experience with the Lakers team, but his ability to kind of do what he did in Miami and has been consistently doing. He's always doing something that keeps them relevant, right? Shaq, Dwayne Wade, of course with him being drafted. Now Jimmy Butler, and he's finding these young guys, the Tyler Heroes, and all these guys coming in. So he's able to put together these things. And for some reason, out of all the people that he's allowed to come through that team, the one person that he could not control was Dion Waiters. And he had to get rid of him because Dion Waiters was not working in Miami. That matters amongst GMs, okay? And that's part of the reason why, once again, there's not a bidding war for Dion. You have to think about this. No other team had a bidding war for him. Nobody was trying to trade for him. Nobody was asking for him on the buyout market. For us, it just happens to be the right time, right situation. But they have to factor in, and I know the reason why they're meeting on March 2nd, is to do an evaluation of that man's mind. You've already had 3 instances where you've been suspended this season. We're not talking about over your career. This season, you've been suspended 3 times. And so now you're cut. You're out here by yourself. What needs to change in order for you to be not just functional, but serviceable to this group? And why should we cut somebody that we currently have, who's been a great presence in the locker room, may not have the production, but is obviously loved by their teammates in Quinn Cook or Troy Daniels? Why should we cut that person in order to make room for somebody who we may have to suspend between now and the playoffs? And so these are the things that they had to think about. And so I do understand, KD, why you say Howard pass on Waiters. I'm very interested to see how the conversation goes. I felt the same way about Dwight Howard, but part of that was just me being hurt that we didn't have Boogie. But it ended up working out great. Dwight has been a tremendous asset to the team, but it did start with the conversation before the signing. Kuzma should play off ball instead of playing iso ball. He is not good in isolation. He's better when he cuts to the basket, and he was forcing way too many shots, just my opinion. No, you're absolutely right, Roderick. We saw tonight. When he went to the hoop and just cut, and he was amazing. He was great. It literally looked like the Kuz we're accustomed to. In fact, when he does that more consistently, it opens him up to have more confidence shooting from the three-point line or doing spot-ups. But he's not Jason Tatum with the footwork. He's not Jason Tatum even with his ball handling skills. So going ISO is not his strength anymore. What makes him valuable to this team more than Ingram, not the scoring, but his ability to play off of LeBron and be able to cut to the basket and do those things. And when he started doing that tonight, it was great. But he stopped at some point. He only scored 9 points tonight. But then again, he only played 12 minutes. So, and this is what I'm talking about. So Markieff Morris played more minutes than Kuzma tonight. Okay, this is what we're going to start seeing. So imagine what happens if you sign Waiters. Who's gonna have their minutes diminished, and you're probably going to see that in Rondo. But yes, absolutely, Kuzma is much better off ball than he is in ISO. And because there was no LeBron when he got here and all that stuff, he learned how to. He kind of took advantage of ISO. And because Lonzo was so passive when they were together, Kuzma was kind of the one who was like the man at that time. And Ingram was still trying to find himself. And so Kuzma was the one who came into Summer League like, I'm a shooter, I'm a scorer. And so ISO ball was the way he was kind of built when he got here. But now he's with a team that's like, no, man, none of that stuff is going to win a championship. You got to learn how to do better off ball. So hopefully he does that. Al Sanchez, is it me or did Kuzma have a crappy game? Kuzma, yeah, like I said, Kuzma just, by all accounts, to be honest, right? If you look at the points, you're like, well, 9 points is fine. He was a minus 19 in 12 minutes. That means in the 12 minutes that he was on the floor, we literally were trending the opposite direction. He had the highest minus on the team, or should I say lowest if you want to go that route. Caruso had plus 20. Kuzma had minus 19. That's bad. The only person that was closer, who played the same amount of minutes, was Rondo, who was a minus 17 tonight with 12 minutes as well. So they're going to have to figure it out, or they're going to see themselves riding the bench, because Caruso has proven in the playoffs he's going to be the one you rely on. Frank Vogel right now can play around because he has a record and he has a cushion and all that other stuff. He can play around a little bit with rotations. But when he gets into the playoffs, it's every series your record starts over. And you're 0-0 when you're playing that team. And whoever gets to 4 wins first is the one who advances on to the next part of their season. And he's not going to play games in that season. He's not going to play game in that little 4-game season stretch, 7-game series stretch. So if they don't get their play together, they're going to find themselves riding the pine. Efrain A. Cruzpo. Kuzma, no. Yeah, listen, man, he has to figure it out. Sad to see how B.I. and Tatum have ascended massively, but Kuz still... No, listen, and Tatum is a whole different beast as well. B.I. and Tatum are the primary ball handlers on their team. And it's hard for us to watch it because we watch Kuzma be the man before LeBron. But LeBron is here. And so B.I. nor Tatum would develop into the players that they have on a LeBron James team. It does not happen that way. It doesn't work. And if I'm being honest with you, Kyrie developed most of his game before LeBron came back. When LeBron came back, Kyrie had already found himself. Okay, and LeBron really had to ride a little bit onto Kyrie to get through a lot of the stuff because Kyrie was like, I know who I am. I'm ISO, I'm going to dribble, and I'm going to score, period. Ain't nobody going to stop me getting to the basket, right? And so that worked because they were able to find themselves prior. Now, if you were to add Jason Tatum into it now, it would be easier. But Jason Tatum was able to find himself. Think about this. There really was nobody on the team. It's the Celtics, a bunch of young people, right? When Kuzma was playing great, a bunch of young guys. Where BI is right now, a bunch of young guys. So don't get enamored with how great they're playing. Just remind yourself on the team they're on. Okay, you're not going to see a lot of these guys. If they were trying to come up under Jimmy Butler or Giannis, they're not going to turn into these players. They needed time to be able to do it on their own. Part of the reason what made Kobe so amazing was that he was able to do what he did in a short amount of time. But notice they made him ride the bench for a while, and really he talked about it. The only reason he even got into the game was because somebody got hurt, and once he got into the game, it was over. You couldn't take him out after that. You couldn't do anything with him after that. And so development has a lot to do with that, but how you develop is more important. And Kuzma is not going to be able to develop the way that these other guys are going to do it underneath LeBron. It's not going to happen. Kuzma's still trying to figure out where he fits. Absolutely. Yes, these kids are going to be a serious threat next year. Absolutely. Al Sanchez, when Kuzma, Rondo, and Green are out there without LeBron or AC, we suck. You hear no argument for me on that. Absolutely. LeBron showed he can really still carry a team to victory. He can do it, and he didn't look like he was exhausted at the end, guys. That's what made me feel kind of good, because I saw him, and I was like, man, you're plus 30 minutes again. But he got done. My man was hyped. Like, he was done, but when he was done, he was, like, smiling, laughing. Like, when he was done, he was done. But he gave it his all, and he had fun doing it. Yes, I meant horrible because he kept missing bunnies at the rim. Oh my God, that was I don't understand, guys, and this is why I call tonight a weird anomaly game. One of the things that we do well is lob, okay, with Dwight and with JaVale and with AD. Pick and roll lobs is our thing. Cross court lobs is our thing. But tonight we were missing, just like you said, we were missing bunnies at the rim. Like nobody's business. There was a moment, and you guys remember this in the first half, where there was when there was JaVale and AD, and then the rest of the Pelicans. It was just JaVale and AD in the middle. And we kept missing at the rim. We kept missing the tip. We kept missing the putback. But we kept getting the rebound. And it felt like we had 7 rebounds in that 15-second sequence. And there's nothing the Pelicans could do because we were obviously bigger than them. But then we couldn't score because we couldn't get the ball in the rim. That is so unlike our team, so unlike our bigs. And so I throw this game out with this caveat that he has so much. They all have so much more of a track record of catching these lobs. But tonight, yes, I agree with you, Anaket. Like that is, that actually, when you put in that context of it being horrible because of all those easy points that he missed, absolutely. We have a soft schedule coming up before coming back to Staples. Hope LBJ AD gets some rest. Yeah, we're going to talk about the schedule at the end. Really, it's only soft for a couple more games, and then once we get to March 1st, it's all like Donkey Kong, and it don't get much better. Blake St. Clair, I like Vogel's reaction to the AD singer, seeming like he was wanting AD to get back into play, not just stand off to the side and shake his arm, otherwise sub out. Yeah, and you kind of saw a little bit of the exchange on TV. AD was fine. He waved off Vogel. And obviously got back down and started playing a little bit more, but he was playing with one arm. But it's for Frank, for Coach Vogel, you're leaving him in a weird position. If you need to get off the court, let me know so I can call a timeout. But if you're going to stay on the court, you need to get out there and play. You can't be on the sideline waiting for someone to figure out if you're okay or not. Like we need to take a timeout to figure that out. And so luckily, while that was happening, Danny Green hit a 3. So that worked out for us, but that could have been disastrous on the other end. Taj, tonight was a really weird game. Rotations were weird too. I mean, it worked in the end, but it was just odd. You actually said the exact words I was thinking, Taj. That's what I call this tonight, was a weird game. On a night where LeBron James has his 65th triple-double, 65th 40-point game, forgive me, it came at the expense of him having 7 turnovers tonight. And you're going, that's just weird. 40 points. 7 turnovers, 80s missing lobs. Alex Caruso's playing out of his mind, which he normally does. But it was a weird game. Blake St. Clair, no people said Kuzma was better, full stop. The NBA media fans, it was everywhere. Ingram plays both sides of the ball. Kuzma's a role player. Yeah, once again, Ingram plays both sides of the ball, but he cannot play with LeBron. That's all I'm saying. Ingram cannot be the same player you see now with LeBron James. They don't do well. Plus, the Pelicans wouldn't have taken him. Yehuda Flam, Flam, yeah, they probably wouldn't have. I mean, they probably would have, but it wouldn't. It would have. You would have had to have Bi along with it, and so it worked out the way it worked out. And Kuzma's on this team. They believe in him, and we ain't got much we can do with that. I will say this: them signing Morris means it's going to affect Kuzma's minutes. I'm just saying that up front. Caruso is a plus minus MVP. Yeah, and it's so weird because it's hard to value it, right? Because when you think about it, like tonight, just being honest with you, I'll look at the plus minuses tonight, and I'm going, man, like Dwight Howard scored 2 points, only had 4 rebounds, and was a plus 12. It's like you think about that and you're going, that doesn't seem to work. It just seems like the people with the lower stats seem to have the higher plus minus. But what it does factor in is all of the things you don't see. And it's very simple. Does the team play better when you're on the floor? And if they do play better, how many points better do they play by? And that's what you see in the plus minus. When Alex Caruso was in, he helped add 20 points to the game by being in the game. In the minutes that he was in it. And there's just no way you can get around that. It's just clear as day. Laker Metropolis, what should we expect to see from Steph Curry upon his return? I don't know. To be honest, I'm shocked he's even coming back. But God bless his heart, man. Come on back. It's really just more about him getting ready for next season. So I don't know. I don't know. I have zero expectations of him. I'm not even gonna watch the game. I'll watch the highlights. Ray Babone, what's up, Dev? You got to pick one. Deion Waiters, J.R. Smith, or Lance Stevenson? Stay up. You would throw in the question that I don't want to answer. I by far would take J.R. Smith for one reason only, because of LeBron James, his ability to play with LeBron James, and just the fluidity. Lance, I don't know what to make of that man. His time here was entertaining at best. Deion Waiters, like I said, he's a playmaker, but I don't know how he fits with LeBron. I don't even know what his mindset is. Blake St. Clair just won. What did you think of Markieff Morris? I thought he was great tonight, but just great in the sense of he did all the small things that mattered, right? He showed he can play defense by getting that block. He showed that he was able to score. He shows he's a good free throw shooter. He's shooting 2 of 2, which is good, right? Laker Metropolis. Honestly, I think the Clippers got the lesser twin. It's really weird. I have to go back and watch because now I'm starting to doubt myself. I always felt like Marcus Morris was the better one. But now I'm starting to wonder if Markieff really does have the ability. I know when I saw him at OKC, he wasn't great. But I'm gonna go back and watch. I know with the Pistons, he was better. He averaging 11 points, shooting almost 40% from the 3-point line in those 44 games that he was there with them. So I like it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to make of it. Tamarino, what's going on, man? Hitting us in from Twitch. Hey, man, Rondo and Kuz both played 12 minutes, fewest of the night. Even Morris played more minutes without any practice. Looks like we're starting to get our gears shifted towards the playoffs. I'm glad you said that. Pay attention, guys, over these next few games, okay? Pay attention to how Morris and even potentially Waiters, if he gets signed in. Watch how people's minutes get adjusted. The way people's minutes are being adjusted are telling you who's going to be the premium player when it comes to the playoffs. Morris is going to get more time probably than Kuzma. And you're probably going to see more AC than you're going to see of Rondo. And I don't think anybody in here is mad about that. This team chemistry resembles the 09 team and 2010 teams when LeBron is basically Kobe and 80 equals Powell and role players. Yeah. The league was a little bit different then, and Kobe was a little bit more fundamental. LeBron is pure brute ball. If he's going to shoot from the 3, he's going to shoot like he shot tonight 11 times. He's going to facilitate and do all those things. Kobe was much more like, I'm going to destroy you, and I hope everybody else can keep up with my IQ. He was just a mind-blowing genius, man. Just an absolute genius. Are you reading only IG tonight? Al Sanchez. I haven't read. I'm actually not even on IG, just so you guys know. Normally, we've been experimenting with this little phone, but I have a different setup I'm going to use. So it's hard for me to read both. But tonight I did not have IG on. Tamarino, faded. You see his stats in the last 6 games, they've gone up. He's like 29 points, 13 rebounds. I'm not sure who we're talking about with the faded part. I'm not sure what we're talking about. Your hard pass on Dion Waiters. The attitude is a wrong fit. D Million. That's my friend KD just said the same thing. I can't even fault you because that's been a huge problem. It's not a glaringly obvious problem, and it is. I don't know what the conversation is going to be like on March 2nd. I really don't. Kuzma, James Aguilar Jr. Kuzma or Caruso are six man. Caruso by far. Caruso is the six. If you look at the six man, like if you had to pull one person into the starting lineup and be like, I trust you to be able to keep us going, it's Caruso over Kuzma easily. Dion thought he was LeBron back in Cleveland. Yeah, people forget that. Dion Waiters has kind of had some time with LeBron before. So, has played. I can't even count the amount of teams that Dion has played for, but it's not good. Blake St. Clair, we're going to need the Lakers going ultra instinct come playoff time. Yeah, man. Yeah, we're going to need a whole lot. We're going to need a whole lot. We'll see how it goes, though. D Million, man, everything goes through LeBron. If he doesn't approve, then it's a no. Absolutely. I'm glad you said that, D Million, because the truth is, as much as Rob Pelinka is signing off on these things and asking these players to come in, everything runs through LeBron. If LeBron says no, they're not going to sign the player. Blake St. Clair, both Tatum and Ingram have much wider skill set than Kuzma. That's part of the problem. Versatility matters. Blake, I'm going to keep going back to the same thing. When you have LeBron on your team, and this is the issue that has been with everybody, okay? The issue that has been, like, if you notice, Derrick Rose is balling right now. Derrick Rose is doing his thing right now, okay? So much so that people were asking for Detroit. Like, come on, give us Rose. Rose was horrible when he played with LeBron, okay? There are certain players that just don't play as well. Jordan Clarkson is doing amazing right now because he's in the right team and the right system. I'm saying that to say I am fully aware Tatum and Ingram in a vacuum are far better than Kuzma. Nobody's saying that. Wider skill set, the whole nine. But they won't play with LeBron well. And I know that's hard to say that because we're like, how do you know? Because anybody who needs the ball can't play well with LeBron. Period. Okay? The only reason why it worked with Kyrie was because Kyrie had established his identity prior and LeBron James didn't have to work as hard. So they worked with that. But with BI, the entire offense runs through BI. That doesn't work well. It doesn't work well. And so where he's at right now, BI has to be the man. If you bring another superstar into that team, BI, you're going to see his production plummet. And the reason why is because you're asking somebody else to handle the ball. Even with Drew Holiday tonight. Drew can do all he wants to do. But remember how Drew Holiday was close to being a borderline all-star before Ingram got there? Because he was handling the ball. When it was him and AD, he was handling the ball. But right now, it's really Ingram. Give the ball to Ingram and let him decide if he's going to do a spot-up mid-range or he's going to pass it off. So, Caruso embarrasses better skilled and more athletic players with his effort. Absolutely. Chris Camello, I'm sorry, I missed this. AD is either rushing those drives to the hoop or opponents are cutting off his angle. 2 games straight. Yeah. And he's, I talked about this last post game, Chris. What we're learning is that AD's inside game, when it's just half court set, posting up, he doesn't trust his ability to get to the rim. He trusts his mid-range over his ability to get to the rim. If you are going in transition towards the rim, you can't stop AD. If he gets a running start towards the rim, either off a pump fake from the three-point line like we saw the other night, where he did that crazy acrobatic move when he got to the basket and was able to score. If he gets a full head of steam, he's good. But if you're asking to dump it down to him, if he's matched up with somebody that can body him up like Zion was doing tonight, he's gonna have issues. And so part of it is rushing those drives. He even tried to do a hook tonight, a hook shot, a sweeping hook, and I'm like, what? That's not your repertoire. That's not your game, right? And so I don't know. I know Phil Handy is going to be working with him on shooting, but he needs to really sit with the big man. I wish he had some time to get with an Olajuwon or something like that could tell him this is how you need to get your footwork together to prepare yourself to get into the inside. Blake St. Clair, Caruso embarrasses better skilled and more athletic players with his effort. Absolutely. Not just his effort, man. He's grown. He's growing and maturing. And if people aren't paying attention, I really hope the Lakers really make a move and lock this dude up to a multiple-year contract. Because if he continues to progress the way he's progressing, now that they put him up, so the first year they called him up a few games. Last year they called him up more games. He got better. Now they're putting him in and they're letting him play every game. He's getting better and better and better. That he can really be a great sixth man and even a potential starter depending on how he's able to improve his mid-range and three-point shooting. Because right now, he's got all the other things. It's his shooting that kind of leaves you a little wanting. Last year, he couldn't finish well, but now he's finishing well. His athleticism is there. His IQ is there. His speed is there. His chemistry with the team is there. I'm telling you, if he gets a mid-range shot or even consistent from three, he's going to be a serious problem, and I hope that he stays with us because I don't want to have to see him on the other end. D Million says J.R. Smith by far, yeah. Lance for the air guitar. He can do that from the stands. Wayne, any scenario in the offseason that the Lakers get Bradley Beal? God, wouldn't that be amazing, bro? Woo! That would be nasty if we got him. He's obviously not happy. Anybody who looks like he's about to throw a chair after scoring his second 50-point game, I don't know. But that's a dream, a pipe dream. I don't know how you would make it work. But, man, that would be beautiful. Tam Marino 13. Someone said AD was looking tired and faded. Oh, yeah. Well, he is. When we say faded, he only scored 21 points tonight. But it looked like he wasn't getting back as quick. Even one of his blocks was on a pure recovery. It was just him just chasing down from behind. But it's not to say, once again, his stat line was amazing tonight. So we're not saying that in a vacuum it wasn't a great game. We're saying by AD standards, knowing this dude can put up a 50-burger, knowing this dude can do a 40 and 20, knowing what this dude can do when he's fully right and ready to go, tonight was mediocre at best. D Million, J.R. Smith is the best fit. He is a clutch. He is a catch and shoot and set screens at the top of the key for LBJ. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it at all. JJ Redick wasn't the streaky shooter tonight, which was weird. Yeah, part of it was because AC was clamping him down, man. What are you talking about? D Million, go back and watch Cavs in the playoffs. JR has more IQ than he gets credit playing with LeBron. Yeah, like I said, I like the way he plays with LeBron, man. I think he has experience. LeBron likes him. It would be a little bit different for the defensive side. He'd have to really pick it up, but I mean, you can get that over time. Chris Camelo, Kareem. I don't know if Kareem is really doing that stuff right now. I want to say yes, but also Kareem wasn't a huge footwork guy as much as he was relying on getting to that skyhook and getting to your spot. I like things like the dream shake and things like that that just had to do more with footwork. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be mad with either one of them. Just to be honest, anything that can help AD become a better big would be great. JR fits the team chemistry because come playoffs, LeBron plays 40-plus minutes and is the primary ball handler. Absolutely. Rogers Green. Who? I'm not sure who the who was for. Blake Sinclair. My opinion is more Ingram didn't fit with LeBron because he's a pure, yeah. So I agree that it's how LeBron plays both, at the same time. It's probably, yeah. That's the absolute truth. To be honest with you, if LeBron was a pure point guard, oh my God, him and Ingram would be crazy. But you're right. It's because they kind of still play in that same forward position. Like you saw tonight, plenty of times that they were backing down on Drew Holiday. You have Ingram on that team. It's going to be much more of Ingram doing that. And LeBron's is going to be kind of sitting in the wings. Who you said needed a jump shot? Oh, Alex Caruso. Sorry. Alex Caruso needs to be much more consistent on his shooting. He's streaky too. He can hit 3 or 4 threes, right? But like tonight, if he's outside the paint, the teams tend to kind of let him live out there, right? Because it's really a shake of the dice to see if he's going to hit it. He's not really consistent. And when I say consistent, I mean like KCP, right? Like KCP tonight, he gets to a certain mid-range shot. If he gets up that screen off the elbow, he's going to be pretty good. If he's in that corner 3, it's pretty consistent. We don't really know where Caruso's sweet spot is because he doesn't really have a spot, right? We know Caruso's spot is at the rim, on a putback, or getting to the rim, to the cup, which he's learned this year. So I don't really know where he's at, You think AD is not happy with LeBron? I think AD and LeBron are tight. You don't take somebody to Mexico with you on a vacation during an All-Star break if you don't like them. I just don't think LeBron literally said I've been spending too much time with AD's family. I think they like each other. I think part of what you're seeing is just AD, like I said, is just not happy with him. AD knows, man. He knows. Number one, because we let him know. We'll tell him. I have seen the comment section on the IG post. I've seen it. We will let AD know. We'll be like, hey man, stop sucking. Like, suck it up. We're that fan base. And he ain't used to that. Okay? He's used to being the LeBron of his team. He's not the LeBron of his team. LeBron is in year 17 playing harder, more consistently than AD. And AD is learning what it's going to take. You're probably going to see AD spending way more money in the offseason on his body, the same way that LeBron James has been doing by spending $1 million plus by keeping his body straight. AD needs to call Karl Malone. Blake Sinclair, that's a perfect person. Karl Malone, that's a good person to think of. And who's able to play at the pick and roll with like a John Stockton. That's an excellent thing. All right, guys, listen, we are running over, but I'm going to go over the schedule one more time. Once again, Lakers are 44-12. Outside of all the issues we saw tonight, we're 44-12, guys. That's amazing. 21-7 at home, undefeated against Western Conference teams away from Staples Center. That's huge, dude. Like we're setting records left and right. But our schedule is about to get tough, and we have a couple more games where it's going to be a little bit easier. But come March 1st, it's going to be kind of crazy. So we obviously won against New Orleans tonight. We're going to play them again on March 1st. But the next couple of games, going up to Golden State and up against the Grizzlies at home. Grizzlies is going to be a tough game simply because we're going to be in their house. John Morant is doing his thing as far as being a leader to that team. So that's going to be tough. If we don't bring our A game, we could easily lose that one. And then we go on the road to New Orleans, where a night like tonight, if it ends up weird, you can lose, But up until tonight, AD was averaging above 40 points playing against his old team. So hopefully he gets back to that form when he goes back to New Orleans. We'll see on March 1st. But then that's when we come back home and it gets crazy. Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Clippers, all in LA. We play all those teams in LA. That's going to be a good barometer test for us. In between that New Orleans and Philadelphia game, so we're going to hear some more about Dion Waiters. I don't anticipate them throwing in Dion Waiters against the Milwaukee team. If you watched the Milwaukee Bucks game prior to this game tonight, then you saw some things that are promising and scary at the same time. The way the Raptors were able to get up and be able to get double-digit lead on the Bucks with Giannis in the game had to do a lot with how they were playing Giannis. Now, the Buttonholzer was able to make some adjustments and be able to get Giannis open and get him fluid again, and obviously the Bucks took off from there. But if the Lakers are able to do what's necessary at home against the Bucks, this will be the last time we play them. We only play them twice. If we're able to do what we need to do against the 76ers and the Bucks, we can at least show ourselves how we would match up in a playoff or in a final series if we saw either one of them. Far more likely to be the Bucks than it is the 76ers. But once we get past that, then we're looking pretty good. We're going to be at home for a while. We're really at home for all that. So Philadelphia, Milwaukee, technically we're a road team, but we're at home against the Clippers. Brooklyn and Houston and Denver. So we're going to have a long stint the first half of March, the first 15 days of March. We're essentially home, right? So we'll figure it out then. But by the time we go back out again, we go out for a game or two for like Denver. And then that's when the rest of the season gets really kind of easy at that point. The Lakers are looking to lock some things up. That's what we need to do is lock some things up. And the one thing that we need to lock up is the number one seed in the conference so that we can finally, at some point, get some rest for our guys and let them sit through some games. Once we lock up that one seed, I don't care what our record is past that. I want to see our guys sitting and resting. But right now we have, this is a crazy race, guys. We have a 5-game lead over the Nuggets and an 8-game lead over the Rockets, who are in the 4 position. And it sounds crazy, but a 17-game lead over the Grizzlies. So we're looking good. I don't care what nobody says. For a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in multiple years, for us to look back and go, man, we're 17 games away from the 8th seed right now. Like, that's how far ahead we are in the standings. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and hopefully we get another W. I appreciate you guys. Let me look at this. Do you think B.I. would be another Melo that scores 20-plus meaningless points every game? I pray not, man. I really want to see B.I. become not just a star, but I want him and I want Tatum to be the superstars of the future. When LeBron is gone, we're looking for someone to kind of take that mantle. Obviously, Giannis is going to be that guy who's going to kind of take over the crown. But I want to see B.I. I want to see Tatum. I want to see these guys develop into it sounds crazy, but I even want to see Ben Simmons. I want to see these guys take over and really start to develop into people that I know they can be consistent all-stars, perennial all-stars. I want to see that. But I don't know. I mean, Melo was at the top of his game and just couldn't get it going, but mostly because he couldn't be surrounded by the right people. So we'll see. I think the only team that gives Lakers a problem is Denver because of matchup. Yeah, I think Denver and the Bucks, because the Bucks pulled our pants down and spanked us. So, Al Sanchez, thanks for doing a great job hosting the show, man. I appreciate that, Al, for real. Chris Camelo, a blowout would be nice to give LeBron and AD some rest. Chris, this is what I'm saying. If we're looking for anything in the upcoming games, when we go to play the Warriors, when we go to Memphis, if we can get a good, solid 20, 25-point lead getting into the fourth quarter, I'll even go as far as say 15 to 20-point lead, and allow AD and Bron to sit right around the 8-7 minute mark and not have to come back into the game, it would be fantastic. We have not been able to put that together, but these last couple of games, we're starting to see an uptick in Caruso's minutes. So I think part of the reason why we lose leads is because of Rondo. I hate saying that. I love that guy, but I don't think Rondo is helping us keep leads. I think Caruso would. So hopefully they use Caruso more, use Morris some more, get Bron and AD some more rest. Chris Camelo, great job, Devon. Thank you so much, man. Listen, guys, I appreciate it. It is 1 o'clock in the morning where I am here in Houston, so I'm going to sign off and get my behind in the bed. But, once again, this has been a wonderful night. We did what we had to do tonight. Until I see you guys again on Thursday, remember, Mamba out, but not forgotten. I'll see you guys later.